Gemini, if anyone from your past decides to lurk on you in 2026, they're going to be bewildered as they have missed many chapters within your life because the times they are a-changing and the Geminis, they are a-changing. If anyone from your past circles back around, they may be shocked to realize that you have gone through multiple hair colors since you've known them. You've had many different adventures since you've known them. Maybe you've had different beaux since the time that you know them. You are not the same person that you've been. And that's the case for many of us, but especially you, Gemini, with Uranus in your sign. This is a growth spurt astrologically. It's a time that you are trying new things. You are open to the flow of new within your life. Granted, you are someone who likes to shake things up. You like versatility, you like variety, but Uranus energy amplifies that desire for change and new experiences even more so. So much so that if there is anyone that you've lost touch with, they may be like, this is not the person that I used to know, because it's not. It is a new year and it is quite literally a new me. With the energy of Uranus, a lot of times we break barriers of how it is that we have defined ourselves before or how other people have defined us. Where if there's been certain people who have underestimated you, and if they do circle back and see, oh wow, they got that huge promotion, they're doing really well within their career. If there's been anyone within your family who kept you small, who criticized you, they may be shocked to see that you are completely owning who you are, the authentic self of who you are. If there's been any ex-friends or ex-lovers who knew you as one way, they may be shocked to realize you are not the person that I've known before. And that is a good thing, Gemini, to evolve, to innovate. But ultimately, the call of having Uranus in your sign, which is the case in 2026, is that there is a desire to really write your own story. Not the plot that other people have cast you in, not what your haters thought you could accomplish, not what your past bosses thought you could accomplish, but what you are here to write, the story you are here to write, and the person that you are meant to be. That's the call of Uranus. Sure, it can be restless, it can be erratic, but there is a desire to zap away anything that does not feel fully aligned with yourself and your story. You are taking charge of how it is that you identify and refusing to settle for a life that is not authentically yours. Because for a lot of you, this is the plot twist that you've been waiting for. And when other individuals are bewildered, shook, and shocked at the new sides of yourself that you are debuting to the world, you feel never before more sure of your authentic way that you're meant to go about your authentic life. So Gemini, we will take a deep dive into this transit as well as every other transit in the year ahead and what this means for you, what this means for your career, what this means for your love life, what this means for your friendships. I want to highlight that this is part of my series, 12 Days of Cosmos. And within this series, the most relevant, applicable video and forecast is going to be that of your rising sign. I also recommend listening to your sun sign. The reason for this is that I utilize a technique called solar houses, which is essentially when we pull the sun into the first house and set up the houses accordingly. Actual houses, as indicated by your rising sign, will always be the most relevant, but solar houses is just another layer of themes that you will navigate within this next trip around the sun. So this video is going to be the most aligned for Gemini risings or Gemini suns. I want to highlight, for clarity's sake, I do tell the story of this guy in whole sign house system. If you utilize a different house system, it may benefit you to listen to the other surrounding rising signs, as some of these transits will impact different houses if you utilize a different house system. And I want to highlight, within our time together, I'm going to detail your movie of the year, essentially how all of the different planets are playing their own role within your year, and how you, as the main character of your universe, as the protagonist of your universe, are growing, changing, evolving, experiencing certain plot points, certain themes that are coming to the surface. If you are looking for more of a month-by-month look at your year ahead, which months are the most potent for love, which months are the most potent for career launches, I deeply recommend to check out my Magic 2026 offering. It is a 2 or 3 hour video in which I take you through every single month of astrology. Don't worry, you don't have to listen all at once. There are timestamps, or you can speed me up. I tend to find a lot of Gemini placements listening to videos and podcasts sped up because you all have those quick mercurial minds, so you can always speed it up. or just reserve each month as you navigate it. But essentially, we will detail the opportunities and challenges alive within each month's astrology for your sign and for your chart. There's also co-creative affirmations for you to work with the astrology of the month in order to ensure a magic 2026. Not because the astrology is perfect, but because you know how to work with it and you flow with the energy where it's flowing and going rather than fighting against it when it's not. So make sure to check that out. It's the video as well as a 40-page PDF to support you as you navigate the year. Additionally, if you're looking for a personal look at your chart and your transits, I am having Capricorn new moon circles, and that is an opportunity to get your chart read and your transits read within a very small, supportive, celestial community to really feel empowered to move into the year ahead, understanding with your location, with your time of birth, what is specifically coming up within your chart and how it is that you can plant seeds for intentions that are the most likely to sprout in this upcoming year, because astrologically it's already foretold to be so. So make sure to check out those offerings if either of them entice you. But without further ado, Gemini, let's go ahead and take it into your 2026. Act 1, setting the scene. Gemini, let's talk about where you've been, because we have to understand where you've been in order to set up where you are going. And where you've been has been trying. Where you have been has been challenging. You have had Saturn in your modality for the past 3-ish years or so. Saturn moved into Pisces in 2023 and thus formed at some point from now back to 2023 a harsh aspect to one or many of your Gemini placements. And the territory that it was pressuring is around career. It is around reputation. So a lot of you could have gone through the ringer, courtesy of Saturn, and particularly around career. A lot of you could have felt like you had to work 10 times harder within career in order to get a fraction of the reward. Some of you could have really leveled up, gotten a new position with new authority and new responsibility, but also felt the weight of that around, ooh, okay, more is on me, whether it's more tasks, whether it's more eyeballs, whether it's more managerial responsibilities. With great power comes great responsibility. That could have been something that some of you have been learning at this time. Some of you could have had to deal with a very, very intense boss, someone who was incredibly tough on you. You could have felt like you did not have the room to make mistakes that other people were able to make. Like everything that you do was scrutinized 10 times more than anyone else. And you as a Gemini, there's a desire for curiosity. There's a desire for exploration. And you could have felt very bound to career. Maybe some of you had to lock in before retirement, before tenure. Maybe some of you knew, I just need to get to the other side of this, and then I'm going to prove myself, and then I'm going to be able to get this other position. There could have been an energy around being tested. But what I will say, Gemini, is that a lot of you have passed the test. Like, Saturn gets a lot of flack, okay, and a lot of it is deserved. But when it comes to Saturn, it does not leave a sector of our chart without bearing some sort of reward, okay? And it's not Santa Claus, right? It doesn't just bring gifts and bounty for no reason. It's a sort of reward that you have worked for and chiseled. And it's a sort of reward that sometimes can leave you like, oh, that's it? That's what I worked so hard for? That's what I put my blood, sweat, and tears into? Like for some of you, it could be that boss that you've been working so hard to impress, finally saying, oh, you did a good job. Or for others of you, it could be getting some sort of award at work, some manifestation of all of your hard work, and holding the trophy on your car ride home thinking, this is what I worked this hard for. Some of you can feel like all of that effort within your business is finally paying off, but you may feel so weary that you're not able to like fully enjoy it. I don't mean to sound bleak. I just mean when you've been put through the ringer of Saturn, Saturn, there is an energy where, yes, there's rewards, and a lot of you have built a legacy. You've built a career that is enduring, that is long lasting, that will stand the test of time. But a lot of you could enter into the year still feeling a little drained from all of that. And I want to be so clear that Saturn is the sort of energy that rewards consistency and rewards effort. And not all of you were meant to stay in the particular industry. I always say Saturn puts pressure on us, so much so that if we are doing what it is that we are soulfully aligned to be doing, which is accentuated since it's Pisces, eclipses also landed here, this sort of pressure will turn us into a diamond. But if we're not doing what it is that we are here to be doing, it'll be the sort of pressure where we recognize, like, this is not worth it to me. Like, it's affecting my mental health, it's affecting my emotional health, and nothing is worth that. And so Saturn could have been that sort of pressure. And it could have even been a pressure that caused you to pivot into a different position, or even to take a pause from your lucrative business or from what it is that you were known, in order to get your bearings or to decide, what is it that I really want to do? Like, what is my legacy? Some of you, as it relates to entering the workforce, could have experienced certain delays, or, and I thought it was going to take this long to get a job and it took this long. Or if your industry went through challenges, which is also foretold by this transit, you could have found that it took more time than you would have imagined to pivot. So regardless of what your Saturn in the 10th house story was, what's important to know about moving into 2026 is that it's over. And I do want to highlight here that Neptune has also been in your 10th house. This has been the case since 2011. So there could have been certain things that you romanticized about your industry around, oh, it's going to be like this. And Saturn energy may have made you realize, you know, be careful what you wish for. You think something's going to be this, and then it turns out to be this. You buy into the dream around, oh, we're saving lives, or, oh, we're healing people, or, oh, we're changing the planet, which may be the case with an industry that you work in. But Saturn energy could have exposed that sort of rhetoric and that sort of mentality could have been leveraged from authority figures or higher ups in order to make you work harder, burn yourself out, or do things that were unsustainable in order to keep the nonprofit alive. That's just a storyline for some. For others of you, it could be, you know, I majored in English and I thought working in a magazine was going to be like this and glamorous, but it's a lot of work. I didn't know it was going to be this much work, or I feel like I bought into a dream of what it was going to be and invested all of this time and energy just to realize, like, parts of it feel scammy or were deceiving. So there can be recalibrations like that still taking place as you move into 2026. And it may feel very potent and very in your face, particularly. You're going to have a Saturn square if you have Gemini placements at 28 degrees, and you're going to have a Saturn square and Neptune square if you have Gemini placements at 29 degrees. And what's also important to add here, especially if you're having a transit this year, is that 10th house outside of career, it's also the public eye. And so Saturn energy could have put a lot of pressure around, what do I want my legacy to be? And for some of you, working very hard in order to achieve that. And yes, there could have been an investigation of certain dreams that were not based on reality, but there also could have been illumination around your need at this time to believe in your dreams, to believe in your mission around, yes, any sort of nonprofit is going to require a lot of work, or any sort of founder mission statement is going to require a lot of work, or some of you might be photographers, artists. That's also very Neptunian as well. As dreamy and creative as that can be, it does require a lot of work. And some of you could be really locking in order to bring those visions into reality. But with that being said, with the 10th house being very public, you could have had to really be very discerning and very mindful. Saturn energy is about karma. So if we do something in the public eye, it tends to come back to haunt us and bite us. And with Neptune energy, there could be a lot of intrigue around your business or around your reputation altogether. Oh, what's so-and-so doing? What are they up to? And there could be gossip or rumors, or even people who misunderstand what it is that you're doing. But at the end of the day, you have to know who it is that you are and what it is that you are about. Act 2, the plot twist. This is what may catch you by surprise within the year 2026. You may be the plot twist, Gemini, because Uranus is settling into your sign on April 25th, where it remains until 2033. Now, you got a taste of this energy, so maybe there were some foreshadows, but now the journey is officially taking place. And a lot of you could be shocking people. From actual houses or solar houses, this indicates that it moves into the house that governs your identity as well as your aesthetic. So some of you can find that you're a little bored with your look. Like you're wanting to do something drastically different. You're like, why don't I dye my hair pink? Why don't I get some tattoos? You could just feel like you're very bored. It's important to set the scene because you've had Saturn on your back for the last 3 years. And I'm not saying Saturn's boring. Don't come for me, Saturn, please. But Saturn oftentimes makes us really lock in, and sometimes we can feel very stuck in something, or we can feel like things are taking a long time. And with Saturn off your back, you may feel that you do enter a little bit of like a rebellious era this year, where you're wanting to try new things, you're wanting to experience new things. You're in alignment with the energy of change. And so you can find that you're wanting to shake things up. You're like, I did not come here to this planet to just do one thing for the rest of my life. Like with these Gemini placements, absolutely not. So some of you could be moving cities. You could be changing hair colors, as I noted. You could be changing boats. Like none of that is necessarily foretold by the house. But when it comes to first house, it's like changes that you're making. So you are the plot twist, essentially, where you could just find that you are wanting to shake things up. You're like, if this was a movie of my life, why have I lived in the same set for this long? Like, why don't I try a different city? And Gemini energy tends to overthink quite a bit. You have a lot of thoughts in that brain, okay? And we love you for it, truly. A lot of great thoughts. I love to hear Geminis talk. But a lot of you could have been so fearful of making the wrong decision that you just didn't make a decision at all. And now with the energy of Uranus, whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, I just need to make a decision and make it right. Or even if it is the wrong decision, maybe I move to a city and hate it, and I can always move back or move somewhere else. Like every decision that we make, so long as we are not hurting anyone or going against our ethics and morals, the universe meets us in that timeline and opens up other opportunities and other options. And so when we freeze ourselves around pro-con lists and around, okay, do this and do this, while we still stay in place, we could be diminishing the experiences that we could have should we just try something, do something. Oftentimes, getting out of your comfort zone and changing one arena of your life has a ripple effect. And when you move to this other city, you meet new and interesting people. Or when you change jobs, it leads you in this other direction. The universe wants to meet you in whichever option that you choose, but it is important to choose an option. And don't get so caught up around it needs to be the right option. Because a lot of times when we do put ourselves out there, we do try new things, our brain has to come fully online. Sometimes when we're very, very in routine or we're very much in a rut where we do the same things every single day, our brain functions on autopilot. When we're in a new place, when we're learning something new, we have to call upon all of our brain's essentially capacity. And from that space, we're able to tap into our gifts more so, tap into our talents, learn new things. And so there is an ask. It doesn't need to be as drastic as moving cities or anything like that, but there is an ask to be a little playful with life or try something new, shake things up, and don't feel beholden to who you've been in the past. Make your ops shook, make them wonder, make them curious. You are not trapped by any version of who you used to be. And with the energy of Uranus, it is a vibration that's very much aligned with authenticity. So particularly if you feel like you've had to mask or you've had to play a role, with Uranus energy, you could just find the most important role that I'm going to have during my time here on planet Earth is the role of being me. And if that causes people to start rumors about me or to think that I'm a little wonky, like that's on them. Like ultimately, you do have to ensure that you get what it is that you desire out of this experience. And if you do feel like you're having to suppress or hide certain components of what is authentically you, this could be a year in which that mask that you wear, the role that you feel like you've had to play, becomes so constricting and so limiting that it's no longer sustainable. I often liken Uranus transits like being in a sweater that's too tight. And that like freak out energy, if you're like trying on a sweater, it's too tight and you're like, get it off of me. There could be certain elements of your life that feel like that, or around this just doesn't fit me. This doesn't feel right. I feel like I have to conform. I feel like I have to shrink. And Uranus energy comes in and says, no more. Now, with Uranus in the first house, you could be changing your physical vessel as well. Like some of you could be really shaking up your own appearance. And, Gemini energy is very playful. So there even could be an energy of like having fun with it, being playful with it around why not get extensions? Why not do this? Like, why not? It's my life. It's my body. I get to do what it is that I want with it. There could be an energy of that. You could be trying new things in fashion. And it's important for me to highlight that I'm not suggesting all of these changes are long lasting. Uranus energy, sometimes it's a phase, sometimes it's fleeting, but sometimes you land on a hair color where you're like, ooh, that looks like me. This feels like me. I like this. And so there might be like a playful energy that you step into around your physical vessel and how it is that you adorn yourself. For others of you, there can be an energy where you're just really recognizing what arenas of your life you feel like you have to show up, you feel like you have to perform, and no longer acquiescing, no longer being willing to do so, which is just interesting when you consider this transit beginning in April. Saturn leaves your 10th house in February. So I'm just curious if some of you have been in a very like strict work environment. There could be an energy with Uranus in the first house where it's like, it's time to shake things up. It's time to do things differently. Did things by the book in order to get this position. And now we need some changes at this corporation, because Uranus is about rebellion. So even outside of work, like a lot of you could be really stepping into your rebel era, your anarchist era. And a lot of you have been in that, but it might have been a little bit more private with Uranus, in your 12th house. And now it's an energy around being very overt about your desire for change and your desire to rebel against the powers that be and the systems that be, and wanting to potentially, with Saturn and Neptune moving into your 11th house this year, which we'll get into later, enlist or work with other groups who are like-minded in terms of the changes that you want to see. And some of you could be very shocking in how you get your points across. You could find that you are being a little bit more strict around the groups of friends or the colleagues that you want to be around, and really wanting to live in full alignment with your truth as well as your desire for change in the world at large. I do want to note that Uranus does square the North Node in June, and typically when it comes to North Node, that is the most accentuated around eclipses, which we'll get into next. But I did want to mention this for you all, that I do feel like some of you may feel like you're in a bit of a choice point this year, where there might be an energy around, I've worked so hard to build my career in this particular industry, but now I'm really craving to do something different. Or there could be a choice point around, my family wants me to move here, but I'm feeling pulled to go here, or I can do what I've always done, or I could do something different. There can be an energy that forms around your birthday of that, around, do I do what I've done before, or do I choose something different? And that's a personal decision for each and every Gemini. But what I will say with the energy of Uranus, it's just knowing that this story is yours to write, this life is yours to live, and it's remembering that. Uranus is very much the vibration of autonomy and taking back your agency, and not necessarily in like a Pluto way. It's more so around, I can be weird if I want to, or make career decisions. Everybody's like, you're crazy not to do this. You've worked so hard for this, or this is what's expected of you. But ultimately, it's your life to live. In the Uranus call for disruption and change is going to be the most felt. And I want to get into the eclipses, because there's two particular eclipses that may have some plot twists in store for you this year. The first is the lunar eclipse in Virgo, which lands in early March. And I want to note this as being more of a plot twist for the Gemini placements who have their placements between 7 to 17 degrees, as this lunar eclipse lands at 12 degrees. So if you have Gemini placements within that window, this lunar eclipse will essentially square your planets. And this lunar eclipse is a lot around letting go. It's a lunar eclipse, which is around a culmination, and it's on the South Node, which is finishing its time in Virgo and in your 4th house. I do want to note that when you have eclipses in your modality, it tends to be more pivotal for you. And that's been the case since early 2025. You've had a lot of different energies affecting you. And when it comes to the South Node part of that journey, it has been a lot about releasing familial expectations for some. 4th house is our home, but it's also our ancestry. So some of you can just recognize the ways that your parents have done things and the ways that their parents have done things, and consciously making a different choice point or doing something different, which sometimes can cause some shock and cause some controversy. Sometimes with Uranus in our sign, we're seen as very controversial, even if it's just like I'm not going to be the scapegoat for this, or I'm not going to do this. It could be seen as, how could you? And of course, it definitely varies based on situation, but there could have been a story around, as subtle or as dramatic as it was, I'm not doing things the way that you all have done things, or even just like an awareness around certain patterns that you have that have been linked to your home or your upbringing, and potentially making a conscious choice, or the universe bringing this data to your awareness for you to shift into a different direction. Some of you could have moved away from home. You could have moved away from your hometown. Some of you could have just been so busy with work that you had less time at home in some way. Some of you could have released needing certain validation from a certain parent. I'm just getting, for some of you with the energy of Virgo, you could have a parent who's very critical, and maybe they mean well, maybe they don't, but you could have spent a lot of your life wanting to earn their validation, like have them tell you that you're doing a good job. And you might reach a place where it's like, I'm waiting for something that feels like it won't come. Some of you could sell a home, or some of you could be releasing a certain responsibility tied to your family. Sometimes there are certain shifts or events with our family that sometimes are very rattling, are very jarring. And I'm not putting anything out there. It's never my intention to fearmonger. Just sometimes there is something around family that is emphasized when we have eclipses in this territory. And the next eclipse that may be a plot twist for you, something that catches you by surprise, this may be more notable if you have Gemini placements between 0 to 9 degrees. Then the lunar eclipse in Pisces at the end of August will be more accentuated for you. And this is a lot around career. This is a lot around public persona, as the past eclipses since September 2024 in Pisces have been about for you, which could have launched you forward into authority positions, into leveling up in career, into blowing up in a very public way. And for some of you, there could have been an energy around, I'm doing what it is that I'm here to do. And even when we have a certain calling, when we have a certain mission, there is a responsibility towards it, and it's not always easy, as we talked about with the Neptune-Saturn energy. But now Neptune and Saturn have shifted out of the sector by the time of this eclipse. So there could be something that aligns around this time, around career, around public persona. And I don't recommend launching around this eclipse. Again, you'll want to grab the Magic 2026 guide to figure out best times for launching and job searching and all of that. But it just feels like something could very naturally shift into place at this time, where it's like the right person at the right time, the right offering at the right time, the right opportunity coming into alignment at the right time, or just a moment of looking at what it is that you've built and just recognizing that this is what you are here to do. Now that you don't have Saturn and Neptune messing with this sector, there could be a moment around, wow, I did this. Maybe you were so lost in the chiseling of it and the building of it that you haven't even taken a step back to recognize wow, I built this business, or wow, I'm at this position, or wow, I'm having this sort of impact, wow. And just a feeling that kind of goes through your system around, I feel like I was born to do this, or even born to change this, I'm getting, because this particular eclipse does square Uranus, which of course is in your sign. And for some of you who do not work, this can be an energy around doing something out in the world, like some sort of passion project or even altruistic project. I do feel could be accentuated when it relates to this year, just with the 11th house activity that we'll get into. If you have Gemini placements between 0 to 5 degrees, that means that you will experience a Uranus conjunction in the year 2026. But all in all, Gemini, you are the plot twist this year. For a lot of you, you're just recognizing, I have been waiting for life to change, and it's time for me to make the change. And 2026 is a time that a lot of you are making the change. Act 3, character development. Let's talk about your journey this year. So to understand you within the sky, we look to your ruling planet, which is Mercury. Now, your ruler Mercury is just as quick as you all are. That's why you think fast, talk fast, write fast, all of the things. So in this video, we're not talking through every single Mercury ingress and transit, although that is available within the Magic 2026 offering. But what I do want to get you familiarized with is the retrogrades this year. So I want to highlight that Mercury this year will be retrograde in the water signs. And retrogrades are always a turn inward. They tend to be very reflective and introspective by nature, and especially in water signs. Like there definitely could be an energy of really turning inward to really contemplate beyond how my life looks, which could have been a major focus with Saturn and Neptune and the North Node being in your 10th house. How does my life feel and what's important to me? The first Mercury retrograde that we'll experience goes from February 25th until March 20th, and this lands in Pisces, which is your 10th house. So this could be a time that you are really reflecting what it is that you've built within career. You feel in spiritual alignment with it. And it's not that all of us need to show up every day to work and be like, this is my calling, this is my life's work. Like for some of us, work is means to an end for us to spend our time in ways that feel personally meaningful, for us to fund certain altruistic efforts or arenas of life. But sometimes you just feel this energy around like something feels missing, or just like within the orchestra of my life, like it just feels like an instrument is out of tune, like something just feels off. And it could be around career at this time, just reflecting. Do I feel like I'm in alignment with my career? Or there even could be certain rumors that get back to you. 10th house has to deal with reputation as well. So there could be something you hear about yourself. Don't you love when you hear gossip and it's like so much more juicy than actually what your life is really looking like? And you're like, I did what with who? Like, oh my goodness. Some of you could experience something like that. A lot of you could run into a boss from your past or go back to a boss from your past in order to ask for a recommendation letter. And when it comes to work, there could be miscommunications. You could have to finish a project that you thought was done. There also just could be an energy as it relates to business as well around really reflecting what you've built expertise in. And there could be an energy of streamlining, refining, or even going back to past ideas in order to bring them out to fruition. The next Mercury retrograde will land in Cancer from June 29th until July 23rd. And this is in your second house. So this is going to make you reflect your values. It's going to make you reflect your money. We'll talk about that in a moment. Perhaps Jupiter in Cancer was more abundant, more prosperous for you. And with Mercury retrograde, it could be really contemplating, what am I investing in? What am I putting money into? Where is my money going? In order to really understand what is flowing in, what is flowing out. And then the Mercury retrograde in Scorpio lands from October 24th until November 13th. And this is a reflection around your day-to-day, your routine, your health, your rituals. There can be a focus around what is a more streamlined way to use my time. If there's certain work processes that don't make sense, I just feel like some of you are in an industry where it's like you have to do things by the book, but with Uranus energy, you might be a little bit of a rebel around, we need to do this differently. Like this doesn't make sense in terms of our time and energy. There can be an energy of reflecting on that, completing the incomplete, as well as really contemplating how it is that you spend your time of day and if it's serving you and if change would behoove you with Uranus in your first house. But all in all, with these Mercury retrogrades in your worky houses, your 10th house of career, your second house of money, your 6th house of actual work that you do, it does feel like a lot of you are really reflecting on, yes, work, how it funds your bank account, how you spend your days, how you are seen. But with the water elements, there also could be just reflections on how it feels. Maybe some of you have a certain workplace that really energetically drains you. Maybe there's certain coworkers that really drain you. You could be looking at your bank account around looking at any sort of leaks and drains around where is my money going, as well as really reflecting, like, do I feel in authenticity with how it is that I promote myself, with how it is that I market myself? Because there's also a focus on that we'll get into in Act 4, but there could be a reflection around, does this feel in alignment? Sometimes we've done something for some time and we're good at it. We chisel a career in it. But again, it's like the orchestra of our life. Something just feels out of tune. Something just feels off. And you could be looking at your money, your day-to-day, and your career, reflecting on that. And I'm not saying all of you are going to recognize that something's off, but there just could be a different way of branding yourself, marketing yourself, or going about what you do in order to experience more alignment with your authenticity, which is really top of mind with Uranus in your sign. Act 4, supporting cast. I want to begin with Jupiter because Jupiter, since the latter half of 2025, has been in Cancer, which is its exaltation, and it has been in your second house. So for a lot of you, this could have been a time that you started earning more. Like, yes, you could have been working super hard with Saturn in your 10th house, but it could have been a time that you were attracting more resources to you. My eternal caution when it comes to Jupiter in the second house is do be mindful because it expands money coming in a lot of times, but it equally can expand money going out. And so always important to be mindful of that. But some of you could have experienced some sort of lifestyle upgrade. And if you haven't, you very well may experience that at the beginning of 2026 around being more of a magnet for money, drawing in more financial opportunities, as well as allowing ideas to flow in. You know, sometimes we ask the universe, like, give me money, give me money, give me money. And they like give us an idea to make money. We're like, no, I just want it to drop down. I want to be so clear. Second house is money that we earn. So trust your intuition or your inner guidance if there is an idea that you feel called in. And also if there has been more money that's coming into your experience, let it flow somewhere. I'm not saying you have to spend it right when it comes. It's important to know that Jupiter is in a water sign. So water likes to flow. This is not me saying that you have to spend your money when it comes in, but there may be a focus at the beginning part of the year around what it is that you are investing in, what you are pouring your money in, who you're pouring your money in. This also could show up very much around your overall self-worth and your values, around recognizing I deserve to get paid well. And I've worked really hard in my industry. Like, I deserve to command the rate that I say. With Saturn leaving the 10th house, I genuinely feel like a lot of you are no longer feeling like you need to prove yourself. You could be like, I proved myself. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this. And I know I am worth the money that I'm asking for. And there was a confidence that you move with when that is the case. From June 29th onward, Jupiter will shift into Leo, which is your third house. And this has to do with the mind, has to deal with messaging. So that's why I kind of like dropped in there. You know, sometimes the universe speaks to us in terms of ideas. You may be very prolific in the latter portion of the year. I find Gemini placements always have a lot of ideas, but you could especially feel in the latter portion of the year, you are brimming with ideas and inspiration for different books that you want to write, different classes that you want to take. Some of you could get certified in some sort of skill. You could start reading more. You could start writing more. You could start posting on social media, especially with this energy in Leo. And your mind overall may be in a more optimistic state of mind. You could be doing things that really allow you to show up in a more positive frame of mind. And it's interesting because Jupiter is not the only thing that's influencing your third house. South Node also moves into the sector. So basically mid-year, the nodes move from Pisces and Virgo, where they've been shaking up your career and your home, and they shift into North Node being in Aquarius, which is your 9th house, and South Node being in Leo, which is your 3rd house. And with Jupiter and the South Node in the 3rd house, there's such an interesting story here because when you look at it at a glance, the themes feel very incompatible. When you look a little closer, there actually are some similarities. We don't talk enough about how South Node is very spiritual and Jupiter is very spiritual as well, but that is another conversation for another day. But with the two in the 3rd house, some of you could be learning about a topic that is very spiritual. Some of you could be letting go of some field of study, some sort of way of posting content in order to adopt something different. Some of you could recognize certain content that you've been feeding your brain no longer aligns and moving in different directions. You know, 3rd house has a lot to do with social media. It has a lot to do with media in general. And so you could find there might be like certain TV shows that you always resonated with or certain creators that you always resonated with. And then you just find that it's just not hitting. And it's important to celebrate that when that happens, as disappointing as it can be when you're no longer aligned with a TV show or creator. That's a sign of growth. Like me being on social media, I'm in full understanding that there will be a time that people who listen to my podcast, Magic Monday, plug, if you have not listened, I talk about the astrology each and every week, but I completely understand that there will be times that people really resonate and feel very aligned with it. And there may be a time and place due to my growth, due to your growth, due to different timelines that we're on, that you may no longer feel in alignment with my show. And it's never any hard feelings about that, because truly there's different voices that we plug into at different points in time. And maybe for some of you, if you're a creator and it kind of like feeds your ego or you get certain like validation or hits off it, there could be an energy where it's like not hitting the same. You know, you reach a place as a creator where at first, every little bit is like so exciting and it is such an amazing thing to do. But after a while, it kind of like levels out, where if it's not really something that you truly care about or feel really aligned to, sometimes you will lose interest in posting in the same way or talking about the same topics. And it's important to embrace this, as this is a sign of growth. And that story may be accentuated with the solar eclipse in August. Now, North Node is shifting into Aquarius, your fellow air sign. And so there is a shift collectively around being very focused around humanitarian efforts and community at large. And you could be really craving a spiritual community. You could be traveling with a spiritual community, as North Node in Aquarius will be in your 9th house. And your belief systems have gone through a transformation. Pluto is also in Aquarius, and it will be in your 9th house all year. It's been in your 9th house for some time. So there could be an evolution that's showing up with your religious beliefs, with your spiritual beliefs. And with North Node here, you're really wanting to pursue things that are meaningful, not just for you, but for the collective. And you maybe want to be around people that feel meaningful. Like you could be really bored with small minds discussing small matters. Like when it comes to 3rd house, it's very noisy. It's like a lot of opinions, and you could find you're really wanting to dig into expansive experiences that really mean something for your soul. And that story will be the most accentuated with the eclipse that lands in February. That's the opening eclipse, so definitely pay attention to what transpires, particularly as it relates to your worldview, as it relates to teaching, as it relates to mentoring, as it relates to travel. I want to let you know that we talked deeply about Uranus being in your sign, but before it enters your sign in April, it will complete its time in Taurus. It's been in Taurus since 2018, and thus it's been impacting your 12th house since 2018. So a lot of you have had a lot of changes within your inner world that are starting to show up externally, where these may be belief systems that you've always had, but now you're choosing to identify yourself with them a little bit more visibly. There also could have been certain spiritual experiences that you've had, certain sleep disturbances, certain bits of genius that you've had with Uranus here. I do want to note that while Uranus leaves this sector, Chiron enters. So let's get into the Chiron story this year. Chiron, since 2018, has been in Aries, and this impacts your 11th house, a very noteworthy house this year. And this could have brought certain triggers around belonging within community. There could be an energy where you can feel like you find community. A lot of you could be looking for your fellow, I say this term with endearment, like weirdos or oddballs or unique souls, because you're refusing to acquiesce or mask or hide yourself in the ways that you would have prior. And a lot of you could have experienced some pain points around not feeling like you found your people. And with Chiron leaving the sector briefly mid-year, you could feel this energy around that pain point around, I don't feel like I have a place within society. You can feel like that subsides. Now, Chiron in your 12th house has its own range of challenges. There could be an energy of feeling very wounded. In some ways that your solitude is very healing, but also feeling like your solitude is very triggering. When I'm around people, I want to be alone, but then when I'm alone, I want to be around people. Where will I feel fed? There also just could be an awareness, and perhaps this is linked to the lunar eclipse in Virgo in your 4th house, perhaps it's not. But there also just could be an awareness of certain wounds within your subconscious processing around things that you thought were normal are not necessarily normal. And I don't say that in a conventional sense, but more so around, I've internalized certain things that are not necessarily healthy, and now I'm aware of it. And it is a blessing to be aware of these things, because then we can heal it and break free of the pattern. Uranus can be around shaking things up. So maybe as these hidden dimensions of your subconscious processes are coming to light, it's pushing you in the direction of healing it. And some of you could dabble with plant medicine at this time as a healing modality. You can get more into your spirituality altogether as a healing modality. Chiron will dip back and forth between the 11th and 12th houses, but Saturn and Neptune are here to stay for the foreseeable future. So let's get into this story. Saturn and Neptune will both shift into Aries, thus your 11th house, in the early part of 2025. January for Neptune, February for Saturn. And this is the territory of your chart that is around community. It's around visions and dreams for the future. It's around your audience. It's around your colleagues. And so there can be an energy around wanting to be around dreamers with the Neptune energy, but also doers with the Saturn energy. Some of you could really be speaking out more so around certain topics. I see that also with Jupiter in your third house, Uranus in your first, and wanting to band together with like-minded souls in order to make a difference on the world at large. 11th house is visions for the future, not just personal ones, but collective ones around believing in the world that could exist, but also understanding with Saturn energy that it takes time in order to chisel that. And to a personal level, you could be working very hard in order to bring certain visions and dreams of your own to life. You could be putting in energy to build aligned friendships. Sometimes Saturn 11th house does make us feel a little bit more disconnected from our friendships. Maybe we moved, and so we're not around our network anymore. Maybe we no longer go to that yoga studio. Maybe we have value misalignments with people that we were around. But with Saturn in 11th house, it does reward you if you really show up to build friendship, to build community, or for some of you, if you're a creator or you're in the public eye, to build an audience can also be a focus here. All in all, with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, it's a reminder that fortune favors the bold, and those who are well behaved rarely make history. There is a major focus in 2026 for the collective, but especially for you, around birthing, creating, initiating, bringing things into existence. There's a lot of fire and air next year. Fire is around passion, air is around mind. And so it's knowing that this is a time to think outside of the box. This is a time to be authentic. This is the time to march to the beat of your own drum. And you can really create some sort of enduring change for your life as well as for the collective. Act 5, final scene. Gemini, when you have the planet of unpredictability and shockwaves in your sign, you keep people guessing. You might even keep yourself guessing. You might not even know your next move. And that's part of the fun. There is a bit of a release this year. It's not to say that there's not shakeups. I mean, Uranus is literally the planet of the unpredictable, but it is nice that you have Saturn, Neptune, and the nodes shifting out of angular houses. There's a little bit less pressure on you, and there's more so an energy where you're able to have a little bit more fun. You're able to try new things. You're able to experiment with different sides of yourself, and you're able to really write your own story. You yourself may be shocked by who it is that you have become and the changes that you have set into motion. What's just so important with outer planets in Aries and Uranus and Gemini is to really understand that your genius is your moneymaker. Your unusual ideas are your call to drawing in aligned friendships and communities and audiences. And that if you're anything this year, do not be boring. And I know you won't be, because I've looked at your astrology. If you're looking to take a deeper dive, make sure to check out Magic 2026 to get the lowdown on each and every month, what may come up within your life, understanding the astrology and where it's impacting you, Gemini. I'm also having Capricorn New Moon Circle in January if you want to look at your chart, your transits, and set intentions amidst a supportive community. If you like the vibes around here, that means so much to me. I'm a Gemini midheaven, so in terms of how I reach the public, I strive to be very Gemini. So it means a lot to me that you like the vibes. But if you're looking for more astrological content, I have all signs forecasts here on my channel about major shifts that we have. And I also have a weekly podcast called Magic Monday, where I talk about the astrology that we experience each and every week and how it is that we can use astrology as a tool in order to co-create our most beautiful, our most aligned, and our most magical life. Until we meet again, Gemini, stay magical.